A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for choosing to spend your time with us here on Market View. It's 2 p.m. Central African time, and wherever you're tuned in from, across Eswatini and beyond, of course, we're glad to have your company. This half an hour, we turn our attention to a conversation that is rooted in real opportunity for young people in the construction sector. The Construction Industry Council, in partnership with the UNDP, has launched Internship Program 2.0, building on the momentum of the first phase, which saw 17 youth placed across 17 construction companies. But what exactly does this next phase involve? When does it begin? When does it end? And how are the beneficiaries selected? And most importantly, what kind of future is it shaping for Eswatini's young professionals? Joining us shortly to unpack all of that is Catherine Motsa, the Research and Business Development Manager at the Construction Industry Council. That's our focus this half an hour, and it's coming up next right after our business news, which we start with now. On our first story, landlocked developing countries should establish an infrastructure investment finance facility to prioritize resilient infrastructure, bring down export costs, and drive economic growth. The strong call was made by the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangoba Khumalo, during the ministerial meeting of landlocked developing countries at the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development. It is held in Spain on Wednesday.
The continued decline in foreign direct investment, rising export costs, and a sharp drop in official development assistance are posing a serious threat to economic development in landlocked developing countries. According to the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Mangoba Khumalo, projections show these figures could fall even further this year. In response, the minister is calling for the establishment of an investment financing hub to support these vulnerable economies.
We call for an infrastructure investment finance facility adoption as outlined in the Program of Action and the FFD4 outcome document. For Eswatini, this could mean transformative investments in road infrastructure, railway infrastructure, port infrastructure, as well as digital connectivity, unlocking our potential as a regional trade hub for our exports. Our economy is heavily reliant on manufacturing for export, particularly in the FMCG sector, which contributes roughly 30% to our economy. Key industries such as sugar, garment manufacturing, and other forms of export suffer the consequences of doubled lead times for export through the coastal countries due to our dependence on those ports. Inadequate infrastructure and high logistics cost stifle our competitiveness in global markets, limiting growth in these vital sectors.
The minister says the merchandise trade, critical for these economies, remains very low. He says despite representing 7% of the global population, landlocked developing economies account for only 1.2% of global trade. Honorable Mangoba Khumalo says high trade and transport costs up to 74% higher than in coastal neighbors, exacerbating the challenges faced by these economies. Additionally, the minister says nearly 1/3 of landlocked developing countries face high risk of debt distress intensified by global crises. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, some visuals supplied by the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade.
Well, many businesses continue to face challenges with the harmonized commodity description and coding system, leading to inaccurate declarations at various border posts. To address this, NAMBOD, in partnership with the Eswatini Revenue Service, are rolling out a series of training workshops for traders and cleaning agents. Speaking at one of the sessions held at the George Hotel in Manzini, Mdeni Nhlabathi, the Information Technology Manager at NAMBOD, highlighted the importance of the initiative, stating that the workshop aims to equip participants with the knowledge as well as the skills to correctly apply the revised HS codes during customs clearance, reducing delays, penalties, and improving trade efficiency.
Correct use of HS codes is essential for accurate customs declaration, proper application of duties and taxes, enforcement of trade agreements and anti-dumping measures, monitoring of sensitive goods and trade flows. Currently, some HS codes group multiple commodities under a single classification. This can lead to misapplication of tariffs, inaccurate trade data, and delays in customs processing. By introducing specific codes for individual commodities, we can ensure that each product is classified and taxed appropriately. This will benefit both regulators and traders by improving clarity, compliance, and efficiency.
Nondumiso Dlamini, Senior Training Officer at the Eswatini Revenue Service, says they work diligently to ensure there are no delays at the borders. As such, delays can negatively impact trade. She explains that incorrect coding, particularly for goods from outside SACU member states, may hinder proper tax collection, which in turn could negatively impact national development.
Nathi khanza ukuthi kufanele sikoleke umthelo lothide. So nasu classify kabi ngendeka ukuthi singawukoleki, especially nangabe leti impahla ti from outside the SACU member states.
Traders who participated in the training say it was much needed as it provided them with the skills and knowledge they required.
One of the things that were highlighted during the training session was that if we don't use the correct HS codes, for instance, number one, we run the risk of incorrectly declaring a product, or rather the levy that we're supposed to be paying or claiming from NAMPOD is not the correct or the right one. And number two, what was also highlighted during the training was that it would also be a wise idea for the different declaring agents that we use, that if we were to highlight the different HS codes on the invoice, that has a number of reasons. Number one, it will ensure that the trucks at the border do not get to stand for oceans of time, because we know just how important it is for a truck to get in, get out, and get to its different destinations.
Sasifundzile ngelishintsho leselukhona lwakaNAMPOD abambisane na ARS pertaining ema HS codes. Lesi nasi masifuka namthwalo egedeni bese sendela ama invoices ethu, so sendela ema clearing agents. So sikhanza kulisito ukuthi mine kufuna ngibe ne HS code yami, like ngifuna ku declaration Mazambane. So nangideclare Mazambane kuze na a clearing agent akhanza asane error leta wenda ukuthi na NAMPOD agcina sekamhlambe sekuba nema penalty kanjani. Kufuneka nami ngibe clear ngale HS code usala ngideclaration ngayo, is it the one letsengekile ka NAMPOD.
With around 600 trucks passing through the Oshukungwenya border daily, carrying thousands of tons of goods, having the correct coding system is crucial. It ensures that traders are not overcharged and that the Eswatini Revenue Service collects the appropriate amount of taxes. For Market View, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa and Derek Msibi, Ezulwini.
Well, that's it for our business news. After the break, we speak to Catherine Mota from the Construction Industry Council. We talk all things the partnership program that they have with the United Nations Development Program, Internship Program 2.0. After the break, coming up.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that come on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back to our Enterprise Watch segment. You're still watching Market View. This is the Thursday edition. Now, the Construction Industry Council took part in the entrepreneurship program, engaging 7 construction companies in the first phase. It included 17 youth participants. Now, with the launch of the UNDP CIC Internship Program 2.0, the next phase is set to build on that momentum. There's a lot of questions around it, like when will it begin, when will it end, and most importantly, how will young people benefit? To give us more insight, we have in studio Catherine Motsa, the Research and Business Development Manager at the Construction Industry Council. Very good afternoon to you and welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Sfiso, and good afternoon to the viewers out there.
Yeah, I want to start with the latest development. Obviously, launching this, you're calling it the UNDP CIC Internship Program 2.0. What is in the heart of the next phase? And could you walk us through its timeline, if you would?
Okay, the timelines run about September, October. That's the initiation stages of conducting a market, sort of like a mini market research on the companies that will help absorb the students or the graduates, interns. So there will be that process first, but then there has to be a process that runs concurrently, a process whereby a notice will be out there on the papers, our website, the different social media platforms, whereby there will be a call of interest from our side just to call our construction industry to come through, because remember, we need them to, we need their concerns so that the students are housed through the different companies. So that's the first call, so that we can then import the what you call their credentials as companies through the UNDP portal. Okay. Then that is where then we'll mismatch those companies to the relevant student. Okay. So the process just goes about like that. But also we have to inform the vocational institutions, your ECOT. We usually work with ECOT, UNESWA, VOCTIM, Limkokwing. That was our first experiment in the first cohorts. But we open to the different universities, even across borders, because we know that they provide your degrees and whatnot. Yeah. So this cohort will be open. We are more inclusive in nature right now, because even UNDP has that notion that we have to include different facets from your BComs, your QSs in terms of quality and safety. So we are open, we are going on a larger scale right now. But firstly, we are at a smaller scale because we were conducting a pilot just to see a sense and have quick wins and quick teething problems so that we can fix in the next cohort.
Absolutely. Yeah. And while you are being inclusive, you also want to make sure that there isn't any misplacement of, obviously the field of expertise or of study of all these young people. And how do you go about, making sure that that is indeed the sort of approach to it, that you are aligned to what you study? I'm sure the interns at home are watching and they're very excited because we know the very concerning high rate of unemployment in the Kingdom of Eswatini right now. So it's important.
Okay, when we go about doing that market research in terms of sensitizing our stakeholders, especially the construction companies, we want to get their level of demand in as far as skills is concerned, so that we can know how we then go about approaching ECOT in as far as what is available. So we wouldn't want to then jinx it and call upon probably a skill that is not needed, even though we hope that certain skills are needed also. But we are mindful that the contractor, they have to have that call that I'm actually short of civil engineers, QAs, or mechanical engineers, etc., etc.
Yeah. You are not on the outside looking in. You are neither on the inside looking out. You have a vantage point. I would say you're in the middle and you're looking around. So I propose this question to you. From your vantage point, what real prospects exist for young people in this sector, beyond the internships? And I think that is very important because, while we appreciate the internships, we also just want to look long-term beyond it. do you give these people a clear long-term career pathway beyond the internship?
Okay, we wouldn't. Okay, there is a lot of work that has to be done on our side, but we really do attend the career expo and whatnot, and we do advise on our skills gap analysis that we conduct on a probably year-to-year basis, and also as references from the labor market skills and your ESSA packs and whatnot. So we had gauged that the market needs more of engineers and in as far as mechanical and a manner of approach, just taking our services to the people. So instead of us waiting for our contractors to just absorb jobs, we go out there to the different project owners. For example, your Central Bank of Eswatini, who is currently looking into constructing their head offices. So there are different criteria that are needed, the tender documents and whatnot, and everything that is needed from the development banks in question. So we come to a place whereby we take the project owner and we take our contractors into sort of like a B2B session, whereby all the nitty-gritties that are needed right there in as far as construction related as construction things are related is concerned, they are being narrowed down into your simple terminology as possible. Just unfolding each and every contract and what it means for the Eswatini person seated right there and having none whatsoever the technical know-how of grasping the concepts. In one aspect also, we do conduct our development trainings that are informed by also an analysis of where the findings at the time, the findings in as far as skills gap is concerned, and the agility in as far as what actually are the needs of the construction industry in as far as grasping and learning and everything.
Seems comprehensive. I want to ask though, as in any other sector, when it comes to tenders and competitiveness, there's sometimes, and it might hurt to someone that's listening, there's the level of entitlement that some people have when they don't necessarily meet the standards or the criteria that you have just spoken about. What message do you have to those people who don't necessarily have, who don't meet those standards but feel like they are being left behind when the contracts are being awarded?
Okay, what I can say is that we are open for business as CIC, and we take advices and critiques as much as possible, because we know that without the construction industry at play in as far as what we are doing, our initiatives, that would be in vain without their consent and without their inputs. So I'd very much encourage them, if we're coming through just on a day-to-day basis knocking at their door, they should voice out this concern so that we can be able to have rightful inputs where we have to make reforms, readjustments, or even change the legislation, for example, to best fit their needs. 100%. So in as much as people will feel a sense of entitlement comes with you being ready, construction ready, and you being savvy in everything that is happening within the construction space, be it legislative, be it anything really, just make it a point that you are heard, and we will take it into task that we do whatsoever best as possible so that the construction industry thrive.
Catherine, thank you so much for your time. That's Catherine Motsa, the Research and Development Manager at the Construction Industry Council, talking all things the internship 2.0 to empower our youth in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We have Sandalis Bia ready to join us via our video link. Market analysis after the break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Hi, welcome back. This is our market analysis now with Sanele B, our economist, who joins us via our video link virtually. Sanele, good afternoon to you and welcome to the program. We're wrapping up the show now. What are the markets telling us today?
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo, and good afternoon to the viewers. So what we're seeing in the markets, Mr. Ngumalo, is a relatively mixed performance. When you look into the US figures, you'll see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average has actually broken that $44,000 overall volume in terms of all shares traded within the Dow Jones, within the New York Stock Exchange. And when you track it using the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you can see that it's broken quite yet another record. But when you look at the Nasdaq Composite and the S&P 500, they're relatively staying on those all-time high levels. Because what markets are looking into right now, Mr. Ngumalo, is that progression towards passing of President Trump's big, beautiful bill, that bill that comes with promising $3 trillion in terms of a new additional debt to the U.S. overall debt stock. And then there's also issues to deal with, when we see the big, beautiful bill being passed, there are some concessions that had to be made to get it through Congress. And, one of which involved, those concessions to be made around your cryptocurrencies, around your tech stocks, with states being allowed to continue regulating their tech, that artificial intelligence space within their own states. So what that now brings is, markets are now looking forward to tomorrow, when we will see the US's NFP data, and unfortunately it's going to coincide with the 4th of July, which is Independence Day in the US, but we are just waiting to see what's going to happen. But those are the major drivers, and we cannot forget the spat between President Trump and Elon Musk right now. We've seen them going at each other's throats right there on social media because of the progression of this very big, beautiful bill, which President Trump touts as one of this is his signature moves, while there are those worries within big business in terms of what the impact of having the bill passed in its stance is going to be. So when you go into the Eurozone markets in Europe, you see that the FTSE 100 is now back to those 8,800 mark. Those are levels we saw before the 2nd of April, before those sweeping tariffs came into play, Mr. Nzumadusuma. Now markets have regained and recouped. We're just waiting to see what's going to happen in terms of tomorrow, what tomorrow brings in terms of the US's job data, and what that's going to say about the US's economy, overall economic performance. Hopefully the numbers are going to surpass what analysts are predicting, showing relative strength within the U.S. economy. But we do see that apprehension as we get closer, as we edge closer to that July 9 deadline, Mr. Ngumalo. So you can see the numbers there, with Paris really lagging behind. And then when you go again into Asia, there is a bit of calm while we're waiting to see what the numbers are going to look like. And the fact that we've seen a deal come out between the U.S. and Vietnam, Vietnam, and we're seeing quite a number of deals coming through. And we do know that the talks with Japan are now back on track, talks with China are now back on track. So that's what the markets are trying to signal, Mr. Ngumaro, that even though we are waiting to get to July 9, but at the moment, markets are just focusing on what is happening right now at the moment with mainland China. When you look at the Shanghai Composite Index, edging up to 34.61 in terms of overall trade volumes. And then when you come into South Africa, the South African markets, Mr. Ngumalo, seem to be galloping for yet another record. So what we're waiting to see right now is the Johannesburg Stock Exchange going to break that 100,000 mark, right? That's going to be the first time it ever reaches 100,000 in terms of overall volume. So we're just waiting to see if that is going to happen. So the fact that we don't have load shedding and the fact that the GNU still holds, even though there is a bit of bickering, and the fact that the metals are continuing to grow now, that is supporting the rally within the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And then within the Eswatini Stock Exchange, we've not seen any changes. And then when we look into the metals and commodities, you can see Brent crude oil, Brent crude oil losing just a bit, going back to the 68 mark. We do know that, we do expect OPEC to improve output, but at the same time, there is a new risk, which is quite afar right now. We've seen Iran pull out of those UN nuclear watchdog facilities because of one reason or the other. But right now there is indications as such that overall oil output is going to remain relatively high, and we should expect the price to start reversing to that 63, 64 mark, or that 65 at worst. And then when you look at gold, as we're waiting for the numbers to come out tomorrow, gold continues to be relatively stronger today because of the uncertainty and the lack of clarity in terms of what to really expect in terms of the US economy. And then the currencies, the dollar continues to weaken across the board, with the euro also weakening a bit, with that rally being bolstered by those shifts in those metals, Mr. Ngumalo, such that we can see that even against the Japanese yen, we've also gained to now that $8.21 mark, showing a bit of strength coming through from our currency this side. The Langen is showing signs of strength across the globe. Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate it. That has been our market analysis with our economist, Sanele Spear, and that's also been our episode, the last episode of the week, the first week of July here on Market View. We hope that you're going to have yourselves a lovely and responsible week, and we'll see you again next week at 2 p.m. on Monday. Bye-bye.
Reports from Iran say 2 French citizens held for the past 3 years in the notorious Evin prison have been charged with spying for Israel. France condemning the detention of the couple, calling it totally arbitrary. And And bad news for travelers in and out of France today and tomorrow. A nationwide air traffic controller strike is prompting the cancellation of 40% of flights in and out of Paris on Friday, right at the start of the summer holidays. Reactions pouring into the death of Liverpool football star Diogo Jota, who was killed in a car crash in Spain. The